Welcome to our webinar. This is Micah Flanagan, and I am the Supportive Services Manager for the Ohio Department of Transportation. And today is our Business and Workforce Development webinar on building futures, establishing workforce pipelines. So for all of our attendees on the call, we hope to help you learn how to build your workforce and how you can do that with this amazing program, Building Futures. We have a number of webinars this summer. So if you want to look at the QR code, you can see what we have available in workforce and business development this summer. We are excited to bring a whole host of a lineup of business and workforce development information to you. So please attend. We're very excited about this. A little bit about ODOT. Our mission at the Ohio Department of Transportation is to support the state highway system and promote transportation initiatives statewide. And as a more than $3 billion per year enterprise, ODOT invests the bulk of its resources in system preservation through maintenance, construction, and snow and ice operations. And our mission is to provide a transportation system that is safe, accessible, and well maintained for the future. In our Small Business and External Workforce Development Division, led by Deborah Green, she is our Deputy Director. And we have Jelita Stoltz, the Administrator of the Small Business Services area. And then we have Katie LaPlace, the administrator for the Office of Contractor Compliance Office, and Lynn Stevens, the administrator for the Office of Outreach. So you can see all of the various functions under those three offices. In our Office of Outreach, we have several contacts you can call if you have any questions. And as you can see, different areas of the state, Northwest, Southwest, Central, and Southeast, and Northeast, led by Lynn Stevens. Today, our presenters will be myself, Micah Flanagan, Supportive Services Manager, LaTonya Chichester, Building Futures Program Manager, and Brian Griffin, the Executive Secretary and Treasurer of the Cincinnati AFL-CIO Labor Council and Program Director for the Greater Cincinnati Occupational Health Center. A little bit about me. I'm the Supportive Services Manager, work with Jelita Stoltz. I handle a lot of any federal and state money that comes in for workforce development initiatives and also supportive services, helping out small businesses, DBEs, with business development, learning and development opportunities. I'm going to pass the mic over to LaTonya Chichester. Welcome, LaTonya. If you would just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is LaTonya Chichester, and I serve as the Program Manager for Building Futures at the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio. Building Futures is a apprenticeship readiness program designed to increase access and opportunity within the building and construction trades, particularly for historically underserved populations, women, and returning citizens. Our program focuses on preparing participants not only technically, but professionally and personally for long-term success in the industry.
Great. We also have today, we have Brian Griffin. Let me bring him on the screen here.
Excellent. Thank
Welcome,
you.
Brian.
It's good to be here. I appreciate it, Micah, very much. As I said, I am Brian Griffin. I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer for the Cincinnati AFL-CIO Central Labor Council. I also am the Program Manager for the Greater Cincinnati Occupational Health Center, which is a member of a consortium of 23 other academic and institutional organizations that helps prepare workers and continue to work with workers on hazardous materials handling and workplace safety training. I represent about 45,000 line and rank and file workers and their families, and it's my job to make sure that they have good job, good wages, and get home safe with all of their digits at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you, for being on the call today. Next, we are going to show you a great video that our ODOT communications team put on, interviewing LaTonya and several of the students in the Building Futures program. So I'm going to play that next.
Gain careers in construction. Building Futures is a 12-week apprenticeship readiness program. We help participants obtain careers in the construction field. We help them obtain certifications that will help them gain careers in construction. We help participants become financially stable, change the trajectory for their families by having them become gainfully employed, not just employed, but obtain careers with pensions within the union. One of our team members meets with our students once a week, and we make sure that there are no barriers that arises that helps prevent you from being successful in completing our program.
What I've experienced was a nice, welcoming team that really just wanted us to strive to do better, gave us the opportunity to network with different trades.
Before I was in Urban League, I only did things like fast food and retail. Right before I was at Jersey Mike's making around $10. Now I'm making comfortably around $30 to $40 depending on the job.
You're here for 3 hours a day, 12 hours a week in our program. So we pay you for that time. It's like having a part-time job. We're paying you to gain these certifications and learn. Having that portion sets us aside from other programs because not only are you gaining the skills, you're also gaining a stipend while you're in the program.
What I was able to do with the stipend was help not only myself out, but my family, like my mother, with her paying the bills. I was able to help her somewhat until I was able to get myself on my feet, get finished with this program, and apply myself into the local 212.
We at the Urban League, our team facilitates the soft skills. And then you have the MC3 instructors coming in, teaching what I like to call them hard skills. We have students that have never used a hammer before, or even don't even know how to use a measuring tape. We work on those skills by the end of the program. They're not experts in the matter, but they have the basic skills going in to apply for those careers.
It's important for ODOT to have programs like these because we give back. ODOT has provided funding for the On-the-Job Observation Day and the Heavy Highway Career Day for the Building Futures program to fund those events to create awareness about the heavy highway transportation industry.
The On-the-Job Observation Day actually makes it feel real for our participants. Getting those vests on, getting those hard hats on, and actually looking at a real site, real construction heavy highway site makes you feel like, wow, I can see myself here. I can see myself helping with this project and being able to tell my family or my children, I helped build that bridge, or I helped lay the concrete for that. I worked on this project over here. Without ODOT's partnership, that wouldn't be possible.
Well, we had a lot of field trips, and we did a lot of in-class and on-the-field work, so we were able to really get a grasp of what we'd be getting into.
Once you're actually on a site, it's so different than like riding past it. You have electricians, you have laborers, there's even water systems when it comes to these job sites that you probably would never even know about. But as a team, they all work together even though they're in different fields.
Our graduation rate is at 98%. As long as you work hard, I work hard for you as well, and we can find employment for you.
What I love about this program is I will meet people at the beginning of the program and then also see them at the end, and they've transformed their life. I mean, they're a completely different person. It's a life-changing experience.
You just got to take the time to dedicate yourself to it. It's not as stressful as being a manager at a fast food restaurant, and it pays more. Just an overall upgrade. You're learning skills that people would literally pay for.
I would say everything about the program is a net benefit. Not only do you get paid to go, but the friends and the contacts you make are definitely worth it. It definitely makes your future feel more secured and your dreams that you might have feel more reachable also. When you're making good money, you have a pension set up, and you feel like your future is very secure, it makes you feel more confident and more uplifted.
Building Futures works because of the partnership that we have with our workforce development team and ODOT. So when you take the workforce development team and infrastructure and you combine them together, you strengthen communities and you build careers for people.
This has been one of the most exciting programs I've worked on in my career at ODOT. Seeing the students and their excitement has been the catalyst for the wonderful successes of the program. We see the students come into the program, and then we see the students graduate from the program, and they've learned so many things, and they are so excited to work on our projects. So for me, that's everything.
Every skill that they teach you can and will affect your life in and out of the job, I guarantee it. I feel like my dreams are achievable.
That was a wonderful video. So our communications team put that on, and they did a fabulous job. But as I mentioned on the video, this is probably the best program I've worked on, or best project I've worked on for workforce development. It's definitely a top-notch model for what workforce development should be. And working in the heavy highway trades, we connect ODOT work with our prime contractors, our contractors and their work, and then with the labor unions and people who are seeking employment. So it's the best project I've worked on. So we're going to go into our questions now. I have various questions for LaTonya and for Brian, and then after that, we can take questions from the audience and, just kind of think about how we can help you build your workforce pipelines. If you are a prime contractor and you are struggling to find employees, this program can definitely connect you with those employees. So the first question we have today is for LaTonya. How can Building Futures help prime contractors meet workforce requirements on federally funded heavy highway projects?
Okay. So for me, from the Building Futures perspective, we support the prime contractors by creating a pipeline of work-ready candidates, right? Before they even step on the job site. Our program streamlined the recruitment and onboarding process through outreach. And we do the applicant pre-screening, the case management, barrier assessment, drug screenings, background checks. We work closely with participants to address those barriers that could impact long-term retention, not just obtaining the careers, but retaining it. So that's how we help the prime contractors meet workforce requirements on the heavy highway projects. We do that. Did we go to the next question of the wraparound support?
Yes, that leads into the next question.
Sorry.
What additional training or wraparound services would make graduates more job ready on heavy highway transportation projects?
So for us, the wraparound support for the wraparound services that we provide for the participants in our program, for the case management to assist with tools, work boots, things as creating a transportation plan. What resources do you have for childcare? Financial literacy, because as you saw in the video, the young man stated that he worked in fast food. So helping you budget and understand your paycheck, how to pay bills and make savings. A lot of people have never had an employment where they've had a little bit left over after paying some bills, right? So we help our participants manage that. We do conflict resolution and communication skills. How do you communicate with the with your employer? What does conflict resolution on the job site look like? Mentorship from our trade instructors. Those things are some of the wraparound supports that we provide with the graduates.
Yeah, and when I've met some of the graduates who come into the program, as I mentioned on the video, and then they come back for other graduations for other students. They
Mhm.
like to come back, and it's just really cool to see people a year later or 2 years later. They are so excited about their life and very motivated to work, and they're making a lot of money, especially working overtime or whatever. So it's great to see. So the next question is for Brian. What barriers prevent contractors from hiring more entry-level workers? And how can we remove the barriers through programs like Building Futures?
Thank you, Micah. That's a really important question. And first of all, I just want to thank you for saying how personally important this program is to you, because it's really kind of the best work I've ever had the opportunity to do in my life. But that question is important because these barriers are very real and they're layered. On the contractor side, there is often a mismatch between what new workers know and what is needed on a federally funded heavy highway project. OSHA certifications, basic equipment familiarity, an understanding of prevailing wage requirements. They're not things that you're going to pick up on day one. And also background checks, drug screening requirements create choke points for many entry-level candidates, particularly those that are coming from communities that have faced, some system involvement.
Mhm.
But programs like Building Futures help candidates navigate and meet those requirements before they ever walk onto a job site. Uh, Transportation is another very underrated barrier. Heavy highway work happens on specific project sites, often, without consistent transit access. With early start times, there are real obstacles for workers without real vehicles, reliable vehicles. But from the union perspective, the biggest barrier is often the lack of clear and visible pathways. Workers don't necessarily know the trades that are hiring, or even that it's an option. And contractors don't always know where to find pre-screened, motivated candidates. Building Futures starts to close that gap by creating a structural pipeline that everyone can count on. But mind you, it's only a beginning. We need to look at how we can be much more proactive, creating an actual trained worker supply chain pipeline. That's something I've been talking to the city here in Cincinnati and to the county about for a couple of years now. So that's kind of where my focus is, and I think it's going to remain there.
Great. And then what systemic barriers continue to limit entry into the heavy highway trades? And what do collaborative solutions, what are solutions that could be implemented?
Again, important question. The heavy highway trades have historically been, among the least accessible to workers from lower income backgrounds and communities of color. That's not an accident. It's the accumulated result of decades of less formal hiring networks, lack of outreach, and program gaps. Some of the systemic barriers include limited awareness of apprenticeships as career pathways, the time and cost of required certifications before a first paycheck, an inadequate wraparound support during the early weeks and months when attrition is at its highest. So even after a Building Futures like program, support needs to go into making sure that that person is on the job and comfortable being on that job and doing good work and being seen to do good work. On collaborative solutions, the model that works is right here in front of us today. It's a workforce development organization providing pre-employment preparation and case management. A labor council connecting candidates to union signatory contractors and apprenticeship programs is important, and ODOT providing institutional support through DBE and OJT requirements. One underutilized lever, though, is the OJT program ODOT administrates. Contractors with OJT obligations are already required to provide structured training hours. So aligning those obligations with pipeline programs like Building Futures is a collaborative solution that just benefits everybody.
Definitely. And then how do you see workforce shortages impacting project delivery timelines over the next 3 to 5 years, Brian?
Uh, and you can see it today. It's very difficult. Just looking at our bridge project, making a full call on that's really kind of a challenge, but it's a real growing problem. The construction industry has an aging workforce. Let's just face it. Significant numbers of experienced journeymen and foremen in heavy highway trades, they're approaching retirement, and we are not replacing them fast enough. For federally funded projects, the stakes are higher than typical private work. There are compliance requirements, documentation demands, prevailing wage standards, and DBE obligations. You can't meet those requirements with an untrained or underprepared workforce. From a labor council perspective, workforce shortages on public infrastructure projects, they're not just contractor problems. They are community problems. When ODOT projects fall behind because of labor shortages, taxpayers are the ones that pick up the bill. They pay for the delays, change orders, and increased costs. So the next 3 to 5 years are critical. With federal infrastructure funding still flowing into Ohio, the window is it's now. We need to be building the pipeline today for workers who will be ready to step into journeyman and foreman roles in the next 5 years. Pre-apprenticeship programs that feed directly into registered apprenticeships are the proven model for doing that. And Building Futures is my baby.
Yes, for sure. And then what innovations, this question could be for LaTonya or Brian or both of you. What innovations in training or recruitment have you seen that could be scaled across the industry?
For me, I would say those innovations in recruitment are just the partnerships with ODOT, the partnerships with the trades. What I've noticed about a lot of our participants is they're just unaware of the opportunities that are out there. I think Brian mentioned that before. If you people don't know how to apply with a union or organization, or even know what requirements they may need, giving them that exposure and teaching everyone what parts of like the bridge construction project are going to utilize which trades. Not all trades are going to be on that project. So giving them that opportunity, that access, and just teaching them about what the process is, it really, really will help across the whole industry.
LaTanya, you're spot on. It's exactly right. And from the labor side, the most important innovation is it's not technological, it's structural. The pre-apprenticeship programs that include real wraparound support, case management, a guaranteed pathway into a union apprenticeship program, that's what produces lasting results. Also, can't say enough about cohort-based training. It's worth highlighting. When candidates go through preparation together, they build peer networks that sustain them through the early difficult months of an apprenticeship. And they can be early months difficulties where having a cohort of people supporting you is majorly important. Isolation is the major reason new workers drop out. So targeted outreach to high schools, community colleges, partnerships with labor councils, building trade affiliates, it's starting to show results in some markets, and we're one of them. The trades have a marketing problem as much as a pipeline problem. Young people do not know what a journey level iron worker or operating engineer earns or what a career in the trades actually looks like. It's been denigrated for the last 40, 50 years in a lot of different ways, believing that college was the only real pathway. There's very good careers, very high paying careers, very long-term sustaining careers in the trades. And for scaling, the key is making it easy for contractors to participate, streamline the OJT reporting, clear connections between workforce programs and apprenticeship entry, and employer recognition for hiring pipeline graduates. That all reduces the friction that really slows up the adoption.
Okay, let's see what I do there. I think I had some duplicate questions. I apologize about that. All right. How can prime contractors and workforce programs jointly improve retention, not just recruitment? This is for both of you.
Have at it, LaTonya. I'll follow up.
I'm sorry, I hope I'm reading it. How can prime contractors and workforce programs jointly improve retention, not just recruitment? I think Brian said it last time, the wraparound support. From our program perspective, we follow the participants 1 year up to 1 year after employment. That is not even graduation. 1 year after employment, we continue that wraparound support. We continue those check-ins. We continue those relationships and making sure they know that they're not, like he said, they're not alone. We're here to support them. Also, one new thing going into our new cohorts is we'll be able to have a retention stipend. Hey, you maintain employment for 30 days. I have a bonus for you for that. Congratulations. Because sometimes that starting pay or the gap in between obtaining your first paycheck could be up to 3 weeks. And some people are not just financially equipped to withstand that hardship.
That's a great thing.
Yep. And like LaTonya said, recruitment gets a lot of credit, and it's rightfully so. But retention is where the heavy lifting really is. The industry spends a lot of money, resources, time bringing workers in, and then lose them in the first 90 days because the support structure too often disappears once someone's on the job. For the union side, a collective bargaining agreement is the single most effective retention tool in the trades. It establishes clear wages, wage scales, benefits, safety protections, grievance procedures. Workers stay when they know the rules apply consistently. And when you know that right up front, you know you're going to have to work through some things, but it's going to be there all the way to your goal watch. So a warm handoff from the workforce development organization to the contractor really matters a lot. And the relationship cannot end at the hire. Regular check-ins for the first 90 days at least, a designated contact at the contractor, continued access to wraparound services, just like LaTonya said, those things dramatically improve retention. And we all know that human resource loss is expensive. But prime contractors can demonstrate real commitment by making OJT hours meaningful, not just a compliance checkbox. Pairing new workers with experienced mentors and assuring they understand the pathway to journeyman status all the way through, that it's worth it. Well, that sends the message that the company is invested in the worker.
That's great. Yeah, I used to work in the HR field, and our retention is huge. And then, when people leave, I mean, you just have to keep filling those positions, and that really takes a lot of time and money. So,
It
what?
does.
Yeah,
It's also it's important to note that the unions have been doing that a long time. We not only know the training that somebody has taken, but we're going to be there literally to hand them the gold watch as well. We're with them the entire career, and it does provide a lot of those things. So yeah, I'm very proud of the structure that the unions have built. But anybody that's working in a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship environment needs to understand they have an obligation to really help on the retention side as well.
that's awesome. And then what does a truly effective contractor workforce development partnership look like from your perspective? If you both have any comments about that.
Yeah, it looks like this. From what we've seen in the video, you saw the trades instructors in the classroom building the relationships. They're there from day one of kickoff throughout the whole 12 weeks of the cohort for support, giving them the opportunities to step on job sites, to visit training facilities, even at graduation to celebrate, to say job well done. And we're there celebrating at signing day when they're signing their um, initiation with the trades. So we're that support throughout the whole process is really what partnership looks like.
Yes.
Couldn't say it better, LaTonya. It's exactly right. I said it earlier. Um,
Mhm.
the program right in front of us is what that partnership looks like. The Urban League brings community trust, case management expertise, direct relationships with a population that we really need to reach. That's an
Mhm.
important point. That population has been left out of this equation for far too long. And the AFL-CIO brings knowledge of the trades, connections to union contractors, apprenticeship programs, understanding of what it takes to build a career in this industry. And the contractor brings the job site, and the opportunity for mentorship, which is really important. Good contractors understand mentorship is essential, and the commitment to hire and retain. Do what you need to do to retain. It's expensive to lose. The
Yes.
partnership cannot be transactional. It cannot be a situation where a contractor calls a workforce program when they have an immediate opening and expect a ready-made worker. It won't be that way. It requires ongoing communication, shared commitment to the outcomes, and a willingness to work through problems together. The measure of an effective partnership is whether the worker who comes through the program is still on the job and advancing a year later, at least a year later. If they are not, we need to understand why and fix that. Institutional support from ODOT through DBE goal setting, OJT requirements, contractor compliance, monitoring creates the framework within which these partnerships thrive. ODOT has both the authority and the responsibility to hold contractors accountable to workforce and development outcomes. The bottom line from labor is a truly effective partnership produces workers who earn living wages, have access to health care, retirement benefits, it can build a stable life for their family. That's the standard we should be measuring.
Absolutely. Those are very, very, very good questions and answers from both of you. Um, Brian and LaTonya, did you have anything else to add to the questions, or did I forget anything? Is there anything else that you want to say about the program, or Brian about the industry and what you do and how it relates to the program?
Uh, just real quick, um, Building Futures is an amazing program. It's the best, most important work I've ever done in my life. But I will tell you that, and not to denigrate or take anything away from it, it's a petri dish. We need to look at it as a very beginning model for what we need. We need a supply chain management approach to this. We know what green field is going to be a building or a highway or a bridge, whatever, in the next 5 years. That's
Mhm.
exactly when we should be looking at what pieces and parts we're doing it with the iron, we're doing it with the different materials that we're going to use. Why aren't we looking at what careers are going to be involved and what does it take to get them ready and on that site, just like we would the iron that's going to go into the ground, the concrete. Those things are all important, essential elements of a successful workplace and job. And we should be taking the same approach to making sure that people have every opportunity to be ready when the work site's ready for them.
Absolutely. Without the humans, you can't have the highways, right?
The
Yes.
drones just aren't that good yet.
LaTonya, did you have anything else to add?
Brian pretty much summed it up for me. You know, it's just not about filling positions. It's about sustainable careers, strengthening communities, and just creating that long-term workforce pipeline that benefits participants and the industry.
Absolutely. So let's go to the next slide. I thought that I would include some questions for the contractors, the companies on the call that you can think about after you've heard everything we have to say today. Some of the questions are, what are the biggest hiring challenges you've faced on current or upcoming projects? Which skills are the hardest to find in new workers? What would make it easier for your company to hire graduates from the Building Futures program? And then what workforce gaps are you currently experiencing on heavy highway projects, and where do you see the most urgent need for skilled labor? So I thought I'd include some of those questions. If you have questions for us today, or concerns or things that you want to say, and you're not finding qualified employees for your projects, or the retention is hard, please let us know in the Q&A and maybe we can answer your questions today. So feel free to type those into the Q&A. And maybe we won't have a lot of questions today, but we just thought we would put those questions out there to you. And if you want to think about those, and you can always reach us anytime if you want to talk about those questions and you have any concerns. Do we have any questions in the Q&A today?
Hi, Micah. No questions as of yet.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to just move on, and I will provide LaTonya's information with the Building Futures program. If you have questions about the application period or um, the graduates and you're interested in hiring somebody, you have questions for Brian. I don't believe I included Brian's information, but I can get that to you if you want to message me. I'll get you Brian's information. So any other questions or concerns from people on today's webinar?
We have
Well,
no questions, Micah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, LaTonya and Brian, for being here today. I think this was a great call to introduce the program, and hopefully our industry will remember this amazing program and seek you out if they need employees or they want to know more about how this workforce development model can help in the future. And we can do great things with the Building Futures program. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending today, and I hope you have a great afternoon.